Game reserves in KwaZulu-Natal at the mercy of rhino poachers. A private fund paid out bonuses for the successful arrests of alleged suspects. Evidence, including case numbers, shows more than R1 million paid in just 1 year.
There were bonuses being paid for the successful arrests of rhino poachers. It was a fund that was set up with really good intentions by really good people, and this fund was manipulated.
The high-profile arrest of KwaZulu-Natal's alleged rhino poaching kingpin is trumpeted by an anti-poaching unit, and the police are seen as heroes.
But were these the heroes we thought they were? Or is there a different, more inconvenient, far darker narrative?
The world knows us, we are the kingpins. But at the end, the truth was come.
Deaths under suspicious circumstances. A crime intelligence officer suspects his own colleagues.
Inhloso yabo kwakuyiloyo nje ukuthi ugcine bona bengalandeleki kulento abayenzayo.
He launches an investigation but is set up and arrested before he can finish.
Kugcine manje bese ngathi imina engi-involve kulento ekubeni kuyibona ukuthi bona balandelwa bona.
A conservation researcher and key witness questions the narrative.
Anybody who's tried to shine any light on the story has either died, been assassinated, or intimidated. Their reputation is destroyed.
And questions raised on the role of a wildlife NGO and its high-profile founder.
If it turned out to be true, then how were they all acquitted?
This is South Africa. How are they all acquitted? I mean, how are they always all acquitted?
South Africans wanted a perpetrator. They loved her story. She published a photograph of a naked man bleeding from being shot, and the South African audience loved it.
In 2014, former crime intelligence officer Christopher Gumbi was deployed in 𝗀𝗁cie to help combat organized crime along the border with Mozambique.
Ukuthi singathi sikhona sisebenza kodwa ubugebengu benzeka ngemva kwethu. Buhleliwe lobo bugebengu lebo. Buhlele futhi abantu abanobuchule ngoba bese lapha thina as a crime intelligence. Buka ke sisiwami crime intelligence versus organized. Yabo? It
appeared to him that Mozambicans were being framed by members of organized crime.
Bathatha abantu khona ngapha bazophuma nabo khona kwi-border bangenisa ngaphakathi eyiqiwini ama-foreigners from Mozambique. Batholakala abantu sebefile ngaphakathi sebedutshuliwe kuthiwa kade bezingela uBhejane.
What Gumbi saw at the scenes didn't make sense.
Yena esefile uluthatha ubani kanjani ubani ibiqhubeka ke lento lapho kwenza ukuthi ifocus yami ke manje igxile kakhulu ngapha.
So Ngoko, you have identified ukuthi it's organized crime. Was that a shock to you?
Yeah, kwaba njalo ukuthi ngithola ukuxakeka ukuthi ozakwethu abenza lento efana nale. Kodwa manje kwenziwa ozakwethu abamhlophe hamba bebesebenzisa ibala labo yini ukuthi bakwenze lokho. Iloko kwangithusa kakhulu athi kufuna ukuthathelwa inyathelo akekho umuntu ongaphezulu komthetho.
But soon afterwards, he was arrested using what's known as an entrapment warrant, issued by the National Prosecuting Authority. They used to detect, investigate, or prevent an offense. Gumbi was arrested by this man, 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗶, and charged with the unlawful possession of rhino horns, fraud, and robbery. In an instant, Gumbi's life and reputation were destroyed.
What would you like to see happen?
A court and an internal disciplinary hearing later found Gumbi not guilty. But he waited years before the High Court ruled he'd been an honest witness and awarded him damages.
The judgment in favor of Mr. Gumbi says that the SAPS member that issued the warrant of entrapment behaved dishonestly, unlawfully, maliciously, pursuing a fruitless prosecution. But what is clear is that this was a pattern, and the victims were usually poor and black.
When 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝘀 sat down with us, he was nervous. He hasn't told his story before.
I'm very afraid. I'm afraid because I never know when did they came to me. I don't know either they will come at any time to shoot me, as they happen to others.
In 2014, 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝘀 was arrested. At the time, he owned a construction business, and crucially to our investigation, an electrician he used called 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗶𝘀 was arrested on the same day. 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝘀 was arrested while fixing his car at the side of the road. Officially, he was suspected of carrying rhino horn, but in this police video of his arrest, there's no sign of it. 𝗵𝗶𝗀 claims that at one point, the police put a bag in his car. After asking what they were doing, these heavily armed men arrived and took him into custody. Van Zyl, who arrested Crime Intelligence Officer Christopher Gumbi, was central to this arrest too. He says 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀 and the electrician 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗀𝗀 bought rhino horn from police agents. But our investigation revealed that this man, one of the agents, is a former crime intelligence officer fired for extortion in 2021. 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀 spent 838 days in a police cell.
2 years, 3 months is a long time. On the 28th of July 2023, it's where we finalized the case. It's where the judgment came to us.
In 2023, he was found not guilty. All 10 charges ruled to be inadmissible.
I lost my everything. I lost my company, my family, my wife and kids. So that was a very bad time to me.
The court questioned what had happened to the 6 rhino horns used by the police, why there had been no paper trail or attempt to infiltrate the alleged syndicate he was supposed to be part of.
Then I said, oh, thank God, God is with me. Actually, we are the victims, I can put that like that. They need to get victims in order to cover themselves.
𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗀 was shot at 11 times during his arrest. 6 bullets hit their mark. He was, according to the police, the rhino poaching kingpin.
Sihleli apha namhlanje ubungafuna uthetha nathi namhlanje, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Ngihlukumeze kakhulu nomndeni wami. Kakhulu. Kwamanje ngilala ehlathini, ngilala ekhaya. Into eyenzakalayo sisi sikhishwe emaphepheni, sakhishwe emafonini, media wonke umhlaba wonke uyangazi.
And the reason his face is so well known is down to a wildlife activist called Jamie Joseph, a South African who is the founder of Saving the Wild, an NGO registered in New Zealand. She built a campaign around 𝗀𝗀𝗀, raising over $1 million New Zealand dollars.
He is responsible for 80% of the horns that go through KwaZulu-Natal province.
John Joseph, uyisilwane kimi mangumbona. Anginawo amandla yokuyenza something kodwa ke mangambona kufanele ngibaleke ngoba ngisuke ngazi ukuthi uqhamuka nani uzokwenza.
Convict 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗀𝗀 as a rhino poaching kingpin is her mantra. And a movie about her campaign is being planned. Except there's a problem. Jamie Joseph's ending is not working out quite as she hoped. 𝗀𝗀𝗀 has been acquitted and now has a damages claim against the state.
she would follow 𝗀𝗵𝗀𝗶𝗴𝗶 into the lavatories at 𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 Magistrates Court. 𝗀𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 would turn around and say, "Leave me alone." And the very next day, they would print a picture in the newspaper saying, 𝗀𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 threatens the journalist.
What was the purpose of your campaign, especially on social media, when it came to 𝗀𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃?
People needed to understand that he had all these magistrates on his payroll and police officers, and we thought that if we put it in the public domain and we put it in a big enough spotlight, well, we hoped that he wouldn't get away with it.
Do you have evidence of the fact that 𝗀𝗵𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 had magistrates on their payroll? Do we know that for a fact?
Of course, it was all over the news. The person who was paying the bribes to the magistrates and the prosecutors and taking money from people like 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, Police Officer 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗃, was the defense attorney's nephew.
The evidence Joseph is referring to came from a single whistleblower who claims to have handed money to magistrates on 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃's behalf.
So the whistleblower came forward and he actually gave one exclusive interview to BBC. And the sworn affidavit, after that he did a polygraph, and then the police investigated everything he said in his affidavit, and it all turned out to be true.
Except the whistleblower is a criminal and was in jail at the time he claimed to be handing cash to the magistrates. He later retracted his statement in an affidavit.
It is very reminiscent of an apartheid-style disinformation campaign. So everything that is ever said, you can turn 180 degrees round.
Joseph seems to have mastered the art of blending fact with fiction. Take, for example, the official police video of 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃's arrest, which I had not seen when I interviewed her.
Have you seen the arrest video? Because
No, I
SABC
haven't.
released. He wasn't viciously attacked. He was the one beating a police officer to death. It's on. I can send you
To death?
the link to the. In the video, you see the horns being thrown, and then him beating this police officer almost to death.
In affidavits, the police said they were going to 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃's house to collect the money from the undercover deals they'd done with him and to hand over another horn for the next deal. But in the police video, which we have slowed down, there is no evidence of money changing hands. What can be seen is the fired crime intelligence officer in a red shirt placing a bag into 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃's boot. 𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 removes the bag and pushes it back at the officer, who then opens the driver's side of the car and leans in. He is still holding the bag and 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 appears confused.
Ngalunqaba mina uphondo. Omveni walokho ngabona sokuphuma iphoyisa omuva emotweni yabo. Bangidubula ke. Kwaba ukuboshwa kwami, kwaba kulahlekela izinto zami zonke.
Get down, wena. Get down.
The police grab 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 and say, "Get down, dog, we are going to shoot you." A scuffle ensues and a horn appears on the ground. We don't know how it gets there, and we don't see, as Jamie Joseph told me, 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 almost beating a cop to death. Carte Blanche has gone through the video frame by frame, and it shows 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 trying to get away, his wheels spinning in the sand as 3 weapons are pointed at him. He is unarmed and shot at 11 times. Eight years after his arrest, the courts found the evidence against 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 inadmissible. Crucially, it found that at no stage had either of the accused sold any rhino horns to the agents. 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 was found not guilty on all counts except a charge of resisting arrest.
To be honest, your campaign went in hard. Would you apologize to him if you were told that you were wrong?
I wasn't wrong.
Van Zyl, the investigating officer, believes he wasn't wrong either. He says the evidence was not admitted because of a technicality. In a written answer to us, he added that 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗃's claims of his involvement in organized crime are libelous and denied. 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 and 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃 still live in fear. They are unexplained deaths. In 2023, a businessman called 𝗀𝗁𝗃𝗍𝗀, who helped pay their legal costs, was assassinated. his murder remains unsolved.
Why are you taking us the photos? Because you don't know me. And no, I'm not shouting.
𝗀𝗵𝗋𝗀𝗶 says she was accosted by him outside court, but this video suggests that he was asking her to stop filming him. He filed an intimidation charge against her.
Well, he lives by the gun, he'll die by the gun. He'll end up the same way his business partner, the hitman, ended up. I'm more worried about the sanctity of the courts.
Joseph doesn't trust the judgments we've relied upon. She's determined to prove her claims of corrupt court officials and says the judgments are baseless. She's astounded that we're questioning her narrative.
But the way you were talking about 𝗀𝗏, it's like he got to somebody. And his hitman business partner has very high connections in politics.
So are you saying that Carte Blanche is being influenced? What are you saying?
I don't know who 𝗀𝗏 can get to, okay?
So he got to Carte Blanche in your mind?
It sounded like you were trying to create a story to try to make 𝗀𝗏 look good.
The investigating officer, 𝗀𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶 was fired from the police in 2017. He says the reason for his dismissal was unrelated to this case and he was unfairly dismissed. He denied he received any bonuses from the police and that the imputation of apartheid-era police tactics are vexatious and scurrilous. Meanwhile, the movie inspired by 𝗀𝗵𝗋𝗀𝗶 continues.
Let's talk about your movie that potentially is in the planning.
Why are we talking about the movie? Why are we talking about the movie now?
You said it's something that you wanted to know whether we were going to talk about.
I didn't say it was,
Okay.
Yeah, but now that it sounds like there's a witch hunt, and I don't know yet because we'll see what the final thing looks like. We'll see if all my stuff is edited. You know, maybe.
Do you want to talk to us or not, 𝗀𝗵?
Okay, because we wouldn't have lost all those rhinos if we had people like 𝗀𝗶𝗃 working in KZN.
Okay.
And if 𝗀𝗏 had actually been locked up in jail. But keep going.
Actually, I think I'm done. I think I'm actually done. Yeah.
𝗀𝗏 and 𝗵𝗶𝗃 are taking the Minister of Police, Minister of Justice and the NPA to court, claiming wrongful and unlawful arrest, entrapment, torture and attempted murder. Our questions to the SAPS remain unanswered. The NPA says that due to the pending civil suit, they will not be commenting. KwaZulu-Natal's rhinos are still being killed. In 2023, 307 rhinos were lost in 𝗀𝗁cie-𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀 parks. There were 49 arrests made.